Good morning, Saints fans. I'm John Hendrix here with Saints News Network. We're alongside Brendan Boylan coming at you live from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome to kind of talk about Week 7's matchup between the Panthers and Saints, NFC South matchup that we are very much intrigued by a little bit. Brendan, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. It's been a weird week for both sides, right? COVID scares on both sides, and it's going to be a depleted secondary for the Panthers versus a depleted wide receivers group for the Saints. It'll be fun.
Yeah, let's start with the Saints. Let's talk about some of the things that happened. So get people caught up to speed whether they know or not. So obviously Michael Thomas is out, and you had kind of reported a little bit this morning. What's going on with Michael Thomas right now?
So Thomas picked up a hamstring injury Wednesday in practice. He was there for a little bit, picks up the injury, does not return to practice. It comes back today from the MRI that it's going to be a grade 1 hamstring injury for Thomas. So he's expected to not just miss today, but potentially miss Week 8 against the Bears as well. So big blow for the Saints for a guy that they really could have had back Monday night against the Chargers just a few weeks ago. Now it looks like you're not going to have him back till potentially Week 9. And then the very next day, Emmanuel Sanders, not feeling well, goes through practice, and then his COVID test comes back positive. So the Saints go and they test about 20 different guys. They placed Ken Crawley on the COVID list alongside Sanders just for precautionary reasons because he was the guy that was guarding Sanders through practice. But all the other tests came back negative. We're here. And on top of that, Benny Fowler III, he had some shoulder injury surgery done. So the Saints are without 3 guys that had been starters or at least playing in that rotation for a little bit so far this season. So the Saints are really down to nothing.
Yeah, and then you couple that with Nick Easton's out with the concussion, right? So Cesar Ruiz is going to make his start at guard, right guard for him, and so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I think he's done great so far. But I think obviously the bigger story here is what do they do at wide receiver? So you factor in no Fowler, who has played a lot on special teams in addition to getting a little bit in the groove in the offense. But then you've got no Thomas, no Sanders. Who they got, Brendan? Who's going to be able to play today?
Well, you have Traquan Smith, who has had some moments this season that really looked like he turned the corner for a few weeks for the Saints. You're going to have Marquez Callaway, who saw a bigger role, especially against the Chargers at the return game. He's going to be active for the Saints at wideout. They get Deontay Harris back this week, so that's exciting. And then you get a couple guys called up from the practice squad, including some familiar faces in Austin Carr. So the Saints are really going with just nails. Like there's no wood. It's just the nails at this point for the Saints. And I think that Drew Brees over the years, he's made some no-name guys into some household names. And he doesn't have to do that throughout the season, but certainly today. Remember just a few years ago, he threw a touchdown pass to 4 different undrafted free agents. He's looking to do something similar today.
Yep, and Juwan Johnson gets called up, and the guy that they've had felt and brought in as an undrafted guy, maybe a little bit of a factor. I only see him maybe doing 5 to 15 snaps, but I think it obviously will depend on how this game plays out. So let's talk about the other things they do have, because you still have Jared Cook, you still have Josh Hill, you still have a great tandem in Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. What do you think is the impact for Kamara? Because everybody's saying, hey, this is his type of game. They're going to feed him a lot, and he could get, let's say 30, 40 touches today. What do you think about that?
Well, I would like to see it be more like 20 to 25. I think this is a really big game for Latavius Murray to show why he's valuable to the Saints. And maybe the hearsay fan, they might not understand the value that Murray really brings to the New Orleans Saints because the numbers aren't there, right? He's averaging about 11 to 12 touches a game, somewhere between 40 and 50 yards. But those are very valuable touches that he brings. He's going to be a change of pace back for Alvin Kamara. But I think you're absolutely right. This is a game where certainly Alvin Kamara fantasy owners, they're smiling. They're ear to ear right now because they feel like this could be a really big game for Alvin Kamara. And I think it is going to be the run game that dictates how successful the Saints are today.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think, a big key for me is Taysom Hill. Obviously, hasn't been utilized the best in different situations for the first several weeks. I think he broke a streak, so to speak, the other week when they played the Chargers. I think he's in line for a little bit more today. Obviously, I think they're going to try to make it work with him. And, I put out something yesterday just kind of joking, like last time they played the Panthers, he had a real huge catch and run for a touchdown when they found him out in the flats because nobody guarded him. and he kind of did the rest. So I'm looking to see some type of things like that today from him. But, and Troutman's another guy. Troutman could be somebody that's sneaky, especially if they can get in red zone situations and stuff. So obviously offensively, you know what they're up against. I think they can still move the ball. You mentioned some that the Panthers are a little bit depleted in the secondary. Obviously, Eli Apple is a big focal point that fans will know, obviously, there. And Jeremy Chinn's one to watch, too. I think he's been playing pretty good for the Panthers, too. So, again, if they're down to weapons, but I think they can still move the ball and obviously make it count. Let's put this other side of the ball. Let's talk about the defense. They're healthy, at least on paper. They're full strength, right? So you get Janoris Jenkins back after a shoulder injury. Wasn't on the injury report this week. Marcus Davenport wasn't on the injury report. So, in all fairness, after a bye week, what are we expecting out of the Saints defense today?
I think the biggest thing is you had to clean up the mental lapses, and though that was a big focal point throughout the early parts of the season for the Saints, you can see over the last few weeks between Detroit and San Diego, or rather Los Angeles now, that those two opponents, they really cleaned up the penalties, at least. Obviously, some mental lapses. The big one against the Chargers was the Patrick Robinson getting his eyes caught in the wrong spot and letting Mike Evans run right by him. But you saw at least penalty-wise in the secondary, it's been better. The Saints' defensive line, as you mentioned, John, back to full strength. And you got some great play out of Trey Hendrickson so far this season, so that's a bright side. You get Davenport back, who, though Saints fans haven't been particularly happy with because of his health issues, he is very productive when he is on the field for the Saints. And, of course, that interior of the defensive line, that rotation has been so good throughout this season. You've seen so many healthy scratches and healthy inactives for the Saints this year, like guys like Shai Tuttle, who played a big role in the team last year, hasn't seen as much game action as maybe some people thought. So I'm really looking for the defense to come out and play similar to like they did in Week 1 against Tampa Bay. Because remember, prior to Week 1, there were a ton of national analysts that said the Saints defense was going to be better than the Saints offense. Hopefully the Saints defense can show signs of that today.
Yeah, and look, for me, I mean, communications are things that can be fixed, and tackling can be fixed. A lot of these issues that they've been having is very fixable. And again, today, I'm not looking for perfection out of the Saints defense. I'm just looking for improvement, right? Getting off the field on third down, being able to generate some turnovers, get the pass rush going. Because the Panthers are down a little bit in the offensive line. And obviously, Teddy Bridgewater, they got some scary receiving threats. Obviously, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson is somebody that I think can get behind the Saints defense with ease. And then obviously their running back, no Christian McCaffrey, but Davis has been good for him this year. So look, obviously no gimme here, and Teddy Bridgewater knows how to win football games, and I think obviously he's going to have his work cut out for him. But what are you expecting from Teddy Bridgewater, the Panthers offense? What do you think some of the ways they can exploit and maybe move the ball in the Saints today?
So I think you pointed it out. Robbie Anderson, a terrific talent, a guy that I really liked the Saints to target in free agency before they got Emmanuel Sanders. I really like what Robbie Anderson can bring. And let's not forget, between Moore and Anderson coming into this week, they are the number one pass-catching duo in terms of yards this season. No duos combined for more receiving yards than Moore and Anderson. So those guys are super speedy, including Curtis Samuel, who is a go today. He was on the injury report for the Panthers this week, but he's good to go. Those are three really speedy, crafty wideouts that can get behind the Saints defense. They can't get burnt today, but you're going to go there. And then Davis, a completely different back than Christian McCaffrey, but he's a real bruiser. I know the Saints have played very well against the run over the last 3 years, but you have to be careful because, as always, those 2-3 yard runs, those can easily become 7, 8, and 9 if you keep pounding the rock. So I look for the Panthers to try to get some things going with Davis early, but be real careful because Teddy Bridgewater is not really known for being able to push it down the field, but we saw some examples, particularly here inside the Superdome last year, where Teddy Bridgewater is more than capable of that. He's got some great weapons for that.
Absolutely, and you guys can see, obviously, the Saints are about exiting the field, doing some special team reps. Let's pan around because obviously you can see out in some of the lower bowls, the 3,000 fans that are here, they're starting to file in a little bit more. Everybody's sitting in the lower bowls today. Nobody's going to be up in the top rows. We're in section 638 here, but just kind of how they're socially distanced and kind of had a lot of different things going here. So do you think 3,000 fans in the Superdome is going to be enough of an impact or any impact whatsoever for this team today?
I think it is, and I'll tell you why. After playing in a silent Superdome, which is one of the top 3 loudest stadiums in the entire NFL, any energy that you feel that you don't have to create yourself or that your sideline doesn't have to create for themselves, that's going to be an advantage, even if there's 2 extra people in the Superdome. Like I said, any type of energy that you don't have to create for yourself, it's a plus, because every team in the league talked about that struggle. How do we find that energy from within? You're getting a little bit of energy from those 3,000. It's going to be a big difference for the Saints today. Maybe not so much in terms of getting some false start penalties on the offense, but you're going to be able to feel a little more sense of normalcy, and that's always helpful.
Yep, and hopefully with the way things keep going, they're hoping that they can get at least 15,000 in here for the 49ers home game. But, obviously it's good to have something in here. They've been previously rolling with 750 friends and family, but they were kind of more in the upper areas, not necessarily in the lower bowl. So it's going to be something to watch. I think, for the fans that are here, I saw that, on Twitter that somebody paid $900 for a ticket on the resale market. So look, I guess in one aspect, you want to see Drew Brees in his last season or whatever, this is the chance to do it. So a lot of things to figure out. Quickly, let's talk about some of the other things to look at, like around the NFC South. Obviously, Tampa Bay is on top of the division right now. They're a game up right now on the Saints. Saints win today, but the Bucks have the Raiders later on today. So what are you expecting out of that game? Maybe do you think this is an NFC South game that, in the grand scheme of things, does it matter a lot? Or if the Saints come out and lay an egg, is it going to be one of those where, we're worried a good bit, or, is this a must-win game for them?
I think at this point in the season, you're looking at almost every game as a must-win because you didn't start the season like you wanted to. Obviously, 3-2 is not a bad record, but a lot of Saints fans were saying, well, you could really be, 4-1. You could easily be 5-0. There were some tough losses there to both the Raiders and the Packers, but I think this game has a lot of implications on how it could be later in the season. Remember, only one team is going to get home field advantage this year, and right now it's not looking like it's going to be the Saints. So in that sense, it doesn't matter so much, but you do want to keep pace, especially with the Buccaneers that just keep loading up. They got Antonio Brown this week, and it seems like the Bucs, this is really like an all-in year for them, and obviously this is an all-in year for the Saints, knowing this could potentially be Drew's last year. So I do think this is a big game for the Saints, but as you mentioned, you have to look at that game. The Raiders are a really underrated team, and maybe the Saints took them a little easy earlier in the year. You can see how good of a team they can be. That'll be interesting against a Bucs team that has all the momentum in the world after just completely blowing out Green Bay last week. But I do think this game means a lot for the Saints, and it means a lot for the Panthers too, because if you come out and get the victory, you're at 4-3. If you get the loss, you're obviously at 3-4, and if the Panthers can be in a good, healthy spot in playoff contention, when they get Christian McCaffrey back, anything's possible because McCaffrey, Kamara, those are the best 2 backs in the league.
Absolutely, and look, we make joke of it, but Tampa's obviously loaded up, and there's a lot of different things that can happen there, and there's still a lot of football left to play, and we know what the Saints have done in October, 40-13, I think, under Sean Payton right now, and they're rolling right now in the month of October, and Sean Payton's really good out of the bye week, so a lot of the narratives are already built up, and you got Chicago next week, and obviously we're not looking too far ahead. But look, this is a game where the Saints need it, and you got to win your division first, and I think that's obviously first and foremost. They already beat the Bucs once, and obviously the Panthers are the second one that they face. They'll have Atlanta and soon on the schedule, and they'll have another rematch against Tampa. So every game is going to be that much more important, and I obviously feel like this team is equipped to put better showing out there and hopefully not have such a heart attack of a game. So which leads us into our final segment. Let's talk about score predictions, Brendan. How do you see this game playing out? Saints are a 7-point favor. I think the over-under is 50 points. What happens today and who wins?
I like the Saints by 10, and I like that because I really do feel like this is a game where we're finally going to see the Saints really, really commit to the run. There was a stretch this year over 3 games where it looked like the Saints' run game was just unstoppable. And I think this is a game where Sean Payton's going to have to dive deep into that playbook and go, okay, how are we going to get guys involved? A guy we didn't talk about was Ty Montgomery. Ty is back or going to be back here for the Saints soon. That's going to be a big thing going down the stretch because we don't know what's going to happen with the wide receivers, and he's a guy that can play both positions, and obviously he's ready to come off IR here soon. But I think for the Saints, it's going to start right there with Kamara. and Murray. I like the Saints by 10 strictly because I think they're going to be able to keep the ball in their hands longer. Time of possession, it's a stat maybe people think we talk about too much, but obviously the other team can't score if they don't have the football. I like the Saints dominating the pace of play throughout and taking a little bit of pressure off Drew to make some big plays. And for all those reasons, I'm going to take the Saints. Let's go 34-24 in favor of the Saints.
I like it for sure. And so, look, I'm taking the Saints as well. I think they're going to win this one 31-20. That's just the way I feel on this one. I feel we wrote about it on Saints News Network. And if you haven't checked out all the coverage, we check our pregame report. All the links that dropped in, Bob Rhodes, Kyle T. Mosley, Brendan, myself, we put in a lot of different things. Same thing with Carla Antoine. She's been great. But we wrote about it. They need the fast start. They need to get off to the hard start. They can't be playing from behind like they have in the past two games. It's encouraging that they have been. But I think this is a game you're going to see them get up on the opponents a bit, maybe jump out to early 10-0, 13-0 lead, and really be in the driver's seat for this game. The defense is going to be key here. Again, I'm taking the Saints 31-20 in this one. I think they'll be able to control the time of possession. Kamara's going to have a big game, and I think they're going to come out of here 4-2. Brendan, any final parting thoughts before we go?
I hope Taysom Hill is able to get some things rolling. This is another game where it seems like Taysom Hill could have a huge impact. You mentioned that a little bit earlier. There was an article posted on Saints News just earlier this morning about the analytics of him so far this season, how he hasn't totally negatively affected the Saints, but I do believe that his blunders have been magnified because of the situations that they came in, and maybe a lot of that's forgiven for the big touchdown run against the Chargers on Monday night in Week 5, but he's got to be utilized better, and especially when you're depleted all over the offense today, I think this is a big game for Sean Payton to get him there.
Absolutely. One last look at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I think it'll be a good one. Obviously, tune in on Fox. Check out our halftime report and halftime show with Kyle T. Mosley and Bob Rhodes. For Brendan Boylan, I'm John Hendrix of Saints News Network. Enjoy the game, guys.